Eminem, Dolly Parton, Duran Duran, Lionel Richie. I love Lionel. I love Lionel. Did you make a? Did you make one? I thought I made one. Oh yes, because okay, because I changed it out because it was a guest command. I'll add that back in, Robbie. I'll add that back in. Hall of Fame. These are the people going into the Hall of Fame this year. We got an induction, and the Hall of Fame is right here in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. You made one for the streamer. I was the stream. Yes. So I use the same command box thing, and I just switch out the information. I don't know why, but I'll add one in for our mod because Robbie deserves a thingy, a thingy. Wow. All right, let's get into this. Another stolen intellectual property. Thank you very much, Morby. Appreciate that. Eminem, Dolly Parton, Duran Duran, Lionel Richie lead Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2022 class. Pat Benatar, Judas Priest, Carly Simon, Eurythmics, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis will also enter the Cleveland institution. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has officially announced this year inductees Eminem, Dolly Parton, Duran Duran, Lionel Richie, Pat Benatar, Eurythmics, and Carly Simon will join the class of 22 in the performers category. Additionally, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Judas Priest will receive the Musical Excellence Award. Harry Belafonte, there's nothing says rock and roll like Harry Belafonte. Richie, strong black man, Richie. I love Richie. I love Richie, Lionel Richie. In fact, let's look at one of Lionel Richie's famous records, Can't Slow Down. Enter. The manliest man there is. Boom. That's the best. It don't get any manlier than this, guys. If you can't get on a fire pole on your own album and look like that happy about it, then you're not a man. And or you don't I can't remember what I was going to say. Wow. You're not a man, and you don't identify as a man if you can't do it like this. Yes, I hear Cleveland rocks as well, and it doesn't rock. Actually, Cleveland has gotten a lot better over the last few years, so I can't talk too much shit about Cleveland. Cleveland's kind of a cool city now. There was a time when Cleveland was just awful. It was like Cleveland was awesome for a while, and then lots of industry left it kind of a broken, post-industrialized, yes, Ohio, post-industrialized a city, and now Cleveland's back. Cleveland's pretty cool now. I like Cleveland. Ohio. Has Bonnie Taylor got here? Her just come up, and we need a hero. It's gonna make a new appearance on the Great American Slappers. I don't know who Bonnie Taylor is. Is that bad that I don't know who Bonnie Taylor is? Should I know who Bonnie Taylor is? Bonnie Taylor. Total Eclipse of the Heart. All right, let's get into this. Let's see. Harry Belafonte and Elizabeth Cotton will be given the Early Influence Award, and attorney Alan Grubman, record executive producer Jimmy Iovine, I know how to say that name, I'm just not getting it, and R&B singer Sugar Hill Records founder Sylvia Robinson will be presented with the Ahmet Ertegun Award, which he was an executive over at, was it ABC? Was that back in the day? ABC? And he signed Ray Charles. I'm probably getting all that wrong. Anyways, fireman Oh, hi, you, and good morning to you, English speaking plebes. Firemen everywhere were livid. Hey, Cleveland is where Kid Cudi came from, so I'm appreciative. Yeah, man, Kid Cudi hails Bone Thugs and Harmony. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, man. East 99, East 99. Wake up. It's the first of the month. Okay, that's enough of that. The induction ceremony will be held on November 5th, 2022 at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. It will air later on a later date on HBO and stream on HBO Max. There will also be a radio simulcast on SiriusXM Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, radio channel 310. The diverse group of inductees each had a profound impact on the sound of youth culture and helped change the course of rock and roll. John Sykes, chairman of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, said in a statement, "Their music moved generations and influenced so many artists that followed." I would say Eminem did have a big influence. Dolly Parton, she's the best corny writing song expert in the world. The Story of Detroit and the Fords. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Ford, Henry Ford, huge anti-Semite, huge, but he changed everything. So, if we're talking about cancel culture, should we cancel Cars because they were mass produced by an anti-Semite, or is anti-Semitation? Is that okay? Love the people who hate my people. It seems almost like that is one of the acceptable things is anti-Semitism. Like we have Congress people who are anti-Semites and openly about it. And I feel like people don't care about it because they look at it as like Whoopi Goldberg. How Whoopi Goldberg said, that was just white people hating white people on The View. A lot of people just view it as white people hating white people, but I mean, it's so rampant. I didn't realize how rampant anti-Semitism was still in this country until I had like a pretty close Jewish friend, and he was just, oh yeah, dude, it's everywhere. And then you start seeing it everywhere, and it's like, holy shit, that was not the word. Yeah, I know, I know. We were mad at BMW, right? Yes, BMW as well, because BMW helped support the Nazis. So let's cancel BMWs as well. Just Joanne, how you doing? You came in right at the right time. Talking about anti-Semitism and the Nazis. No, we're not. Just kidding. Just Joanne. Welcome. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. We were actually talking we were actually talking about Dolly Parton. Yep, my 98% Jew dad loves BMW. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Are we going to cancel all these things? Are we going to cancel Cars and stuff because of the origins? I don't know. Maybe. One place it's okay to be political here on this platform. You know, just Joanne, we have been going through the ringer today. So I actually took us here on it's okay to make a political statement about abortion. Oh, yeah, no, just Joanne, we just had a huge discussion on it and how disgusted I am about how a bunch of dudes in Washington are deciding what women can do with their bodies. But if you feel free to voice your opinion and however you want. Yeah, we talked about it for like an hour. Yeah, we're okay talking about it. And if you have an opinion that doesn't match mine, it's okay too, because you know what? We're open-minded and we want to talk it out. But right now, the funny thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that Dolly Parton, she was going to reject the induction. She was going to reject the induction. I've been following the story with Dolly Parton because Dolly Parton, I love Dolly Parton. She's just incredible, just an incredible artist. yeah, she wasn't going to accept her induction because she didn't think that she contributed to rock and roll. But baby, Dolly Parton is fucking rock and roll, okay? There's nobody more rock and roll than her. Here's what I will say. I raised Catholic. I was pro-life group in school. However, I would never want to get rid of a woman's right to abortion, as sad as that might be. Exactly, me too. Just Joanne, I was raised very Catholic. I was very, very, very Catholic. And obviously Catholics have an issue with that. Um, I'm sort of not Catholic anymore. That's not really me or anything. But yeah, as sad as it is, under whatever circumstance a woman feels like she needs to go and have this done, there is a bit of sadness. But as a dude, I really, it's not me to say, and as a lady, just Joanne, I respect your opinion. That's a great, that's a perfectly acceptable opinion in my eyes. As long as the people in this government does not take good care enough of children who are born in terrible situations, I will never be against abortion 100%. Yeah, and that's the other side of it, right? Is that there is a lot of babies that who are born who grow up in horrible situations, who grow up in what was it, in foster care, and they're getting abused as well. There's so much abuse in the foster system. It's very sad. I used to work in a daycare. I've seen kids in horrible home situations. They should never be have been living with the parents and they were living with. Yes, indeed, indeed. I feel you. All right, go ahead, buddy. No problem, Robbie. I understand. You have a job to do. You do your thing, baby boo. Yeah, no, I'm with you, just Joanne. I've heard horror stories myself, and it's very sad. It's very sad when children come up in horrible situations that may have been prevented. You know. Anyways, we were just talking about Dolly Parton and this stolen intellectual property that thanks to Morby, which big shout out to Morby for showing us how to steal intellectual property. So Dolly Parton had rejected the thing, but she decided to accept it gracefully. So, I mean, Dolly Parton's amazing. Dolly Parton is entering the hall despite her declaration on March 14th, weeks after the ballots went out, that she was removing herself from consideration. The Hall of Fame said it was way too late for such a move. Could you imagine? No, you are going to be inducted. Okay, Dolly Parton. And Parton reversed course just as the voting period was closing late last week. So there you go. We just hit on this. We were just talking about that. It was always my belief that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was for people in rock music, she told NPR. I have found out lately it's not necessarily that, but if they can't go there to be recognized, where can they go? And so I felt like I was taking away from someone that maybe deserved it, certainly more than me, since I've never considered myself a rock artist, but obviously there's more to it than that. I would wish to see pregnant mothers taken care of as best as they could be. If they want to keep their child, help them if they need it. But poor young pregnant mothers don't get enough care, and that is the sad truth. I think you're absolutely right, just Joanne. I think you're absolutely right. So much sadness in the world. So much sadness in the world. Is that how it goes? I don't think so. I think I'm butchering Bob Marley is what I'm doing. Unlike most years, every inductee from performers category is live and either an active touring artist or has performed in recent years. Eurythmics are the only inactive group, but Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart remain close friends as they come together in 2019, a thrilling set for the Rainforest benefit in New York City. They will almost certainly put on a similar show in the ceremony in November. Oh, I didn't realize that Annie Lennox... So they were, oh, I see. They were live together. Okay. I thought there was something in there. Thank you, Raina. Of course, just Joanne. I mean, this is an open discourse. I welcome that in this chat. I welcome open discourse because why not? We need to be, there's not enough. There's not enough open discourse, honestly, and that's the problem. I think a big problem that this country faces the idea that we're shutting down each other's, shutting down people, shutting them down in general, not allowing people to talk, telling people they're wrong, telling people we're outcasting people for just speaking their mind, and that's ridiculous because that's not what this country is, or was built on at least. The current lineup of Duran Duran is entering the Hall of Fame along with former guitarists Andy Taylor and Warren Cucurulo. Sorry, Mr. Cucurulo. I don't know how to say that name. We speak English good. They haven't played with Cucurulo since he departed the group in 2001, and they haven't performed with Taylor since he left in 2006. There's no way I'd be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for this incredible incredible artistic contributions of both Andy Taylor and Warren Cucurulo. Simon Le Bon said on that Sirius XM shortly after the Hall of Fame news broke earlier this year. If we get through it, it would be great to get on stage with them again. The induction of Judas Priest is a chance for the band to reunite with guitarist KK Downing, who left the group in 2011 and exchanged bitter words with his ex-bandmates in the press before putting together his own edition of the group called KK's Priest in 2020. Now that's so rude. Former drummers Leigh Binks and Dave Holland are also expected to be inducted. Holland died in 2018, but Binks is a member of KK's Priest and could conceivably perform with the band at the induction for the first time in several decades. That's so lame. So much trouble in the world. There we go. We got it. I hate it when bands break up, man. But, you know, that's the thing about bands and music. It's like egos flare. People are always, you know, like money. As soon as money gets involved, egos, it's not a great combination. Maybe musicians should be poor and broke for the rest of their life so they remain friends and make good music that no one hears. Eminem is the only hip-hop artist to be inducted as a performer this year, the only artist that began releasing music in the 90s, and the only act to be inducted their first year of eligibility. This is the third nomination for Eurythmics and Judas Priest, the second for Pat Benatar, who will be inducted alongside her husband and longtime collaborator Neil Giraldo, and the first for Dolly Parton, Carly Simon, and Lionel Richie. I love Lionel. System of a Down, same. You know that Marvin Gaye song, What's Going On? What's going on? Yeah, fucking Marvin Gaye's the shit. I love Marvin Gaye. System of a Down. Wake up! Back up! Dude, the first time I ever saw System of a Down, I was floored. I was fucking floored. System of a Down, I mean, they just murdered. Like, I immediately went out and bought their album, and that's the one, their first album. I immediately, when I saw them at Ozfest, like 99 or maybe 2001, I don't know. I saw them. I ended up going to Ozfest by myself because nobody wanted to go with me. And I just went and I just smoked weed in the pavilion all day and fucking listened to like some bad. I saw the Deftones, Black Sabbath was there. What is the point of this? Calling it Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but inducting rap and country musicians? I think that it's turned into a platform where they get to honor people for their contributions to music in general, because I feel like a lot of roads lead to rock and roll, and a lot of people have sort of borrowed from rock and roll, or even the sentiment of rock and roll. Because if you look at Slim Shady, for example, I feel like he comes from a very punk rock background where it's like, that attitude of like, I don't give a fuck you, fuck the world. There's a sense of what do you call it? Anarchy. There's a sense of rebellion that comes with rock and roll. Dolly Parton has borrowed from rock and roll, even if she doesn't consider herself a rock artist. There's always this crossover effect that happens, especially back in the 70s when she was really raging on 70s and 80s. You know, they kind of all borrow from each other. and it all comes back to the blues, right? It all comes back to the blues, rhythm and blues. It all comes back to, you know, that boom, boom, you know, it all comes back to the crossroads with Robert. What's his name? Robert. I can't. I'm so terrible at remembering things. I think it's like the Rockstar Lifestyle by Fame. There's Rap and R&B Hall of Fame, but it's actually put together. It's still in process. Rock and rap were always pretty close. Yeah. And I mean, there was the rock rap revolution, right? We had Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit! Right? And Kid Rock. Kid Rock. Ball with the ball, the bang, bang, I can't wait till Post Malone gets in. I like Post Malone. I really do like Post Malone. But yeah, I think that it all sort of stems from the blues, which gave birth to a lot of different genres. Kid Rock released an album this year, by the way. Not that we were waiting for it. Well, I was, Snooze Mew. I was. His drummer, when he broke, his drummer was this black lady who fucking slayed. I fucking practiced along with that first album, well, that first breakthrough album, so long on the drums. She's so good. I don't know. I feel like she passed away, actually. She murdered Walk This Way. Yeah, Aerosmith and Run DMC. Yeah, Run DMC. Like, there's another thing with hip hop. Rick Rubin, going back to Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin took aspects of rock. He took the rock guitar and threw it in with his production value, taking from rock. It all comes from the blues. It all comes from the blues, right? And so we gotta give it up. If it all comes from the same place, it's all related somehow. Snooze Mew. So that's how we're gonna frame it. Even Dolly Parton's fucking cracker ass is out there with her big old boobies, stealing from the black man. So it all comes from blues. It all comes from that. So let's go. Leave and go further back. Run DMC and Aerosmith. Then we have Public Enemy and Anthrax. Yep. And of course Limp Bizkit and Method Man. What's up now? Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. As soon as Rick Rubin sort of came onto the scene, it was over, right? And it took it from underground rap battles in New York to fucking mainstream. The Beastie Boys made it safe for the whites to like hip hop, and you know, it's part of the history of hip hop. It's part of the history of rock and roll. I mean, it all leads back to blues. It all leads back to the blues. Everything is a remix, like the FVX instructor, I like to say. I feel like we need to give a nod to gospel and spirituals. Would you say that that's where R&B came from? I would definitely say that as well. Just Joanne. And again, I would say that gospel and spirituals came from the blues as well. I would definitely say that because look what when Ray Charles broke and he started incorporating gospel into rock and roll, that pissed a lot of people off. That made a lot of people upset, right? I don't think so. I don't think she is, Ben. But I would definitely say gospel and spirituals definitely inspired that stuff. Definitely. I mean, I love gospel music too. Gospel music is so dope. Catholics with their suffering. Yeah. Well, Catholics are like, Ricola. Amen. You know, like, they come from a different breed. Growing up Catholic, it's just, man, the music was not where it was at. I think Aretha Franklin got to start singing in church. Exactly. Doreen. Mavis Staples. I just saw Mavis Staples at the Gorge last September. She opened up for Dave Matthews, recovering Catholic here as well. Hey, even if you're a current Catholic, I don't care. I mean, it's all good as long as we're, being nice to each other. I think do your thing. I mean, if people want to be Christian, that's great. There was a value of religion that brought some sort of that sort of curbed the chaos of society. If it wasn't for religion, we probably Mavis and Dave Matthews. Yeah, exactly. I also caught COVID there too, so whatever. Uh, um, at 80 years old, Staples is not just a good choice for the Rock Hall Honors Award, but a great choice. She is much more than a singer, much more than Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. Mavis Staples is a hero. An exhibit devoted to Mavis Staples this year to Rock and Roll Hall Honors Award winner. Rock Hall Honors. So she's been honored. It looks like she's been honored. Oh yeah, Staples was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1999 and in the Blues Hall of Fame in 2017. Yes, yeah, Mavis and Matthews, baby. It was a good. It was cool. I loved her performance. I also saw Alan Stone as well. It was Alan Stone, Mavis Staples, and then Dave Matthews. Fucking amazing. Amazing. Don't you say anything about creepy man, the creepy man of band Dave Matthews. If I saw Dave Matthews in the alleyway by myself, I'd freak out singing Crash, but in a whispering tone. He is a creeper. He dances weird too, but people love it. People love to see him Dave dance. Kathleen Madigan said, if you want to save your kids from being extremists, send them to Catholic school. When they grow up, they'll not have room for anything else. Want to be literally school marching band next to Slipknot as well. Dave Matthews Band made every black kid want to be in literally school marching bands next to Slipknot as well. I agree with the Slipknot sentiment. I don't know. I can't speak on the Dave Matthews side of shit. But I do know several black drummers who are like fucking Slipknot. Like they went out and they love the snare and they love the kick. I know several black drummers who fucking love Slipknot because of the drums, and they wanted their snares to sound like the Slipknot drum. So that's all I can speak on, though. That's all I can speak on. I don't know about Dave Matthews wanting to be in marching bands. But, reminder that Dave Matthews Band once released a whole bus worth of shit into a boat. I do remember that. Oh, I do remember that. Snooze view. Side note, we're taking a side way here. Dave Matthews, sewage spill boat. Dave Matthews Chicago River incident. There's a whole Wikipedia page for this. The Dave Matthews Band booked rooms in the Peninsula Hotel, Superior Street, for a 2-night show at a venue of East Troy, Wisconsin. The incident occurred between the first and second night of the concert. The band booked 5 buses for its show. Accused bus driver Stefan Wohl drove the bus of the Dave Matthews Band violinist Boyd Tinsley. Which, by the way, Boyd Tinsley was disgraced and left disgraced because of the Me Too movement. He was accused of sexual assault against a dude, but apparently there was some not everybody was being truthful about that whole situation. So During the war months, the Chicago Architecture Foundation offers a boat tour of the buildings along Chicago River. The boats have open roof seating where passengers sit for the duration of the tour. Most Chicago bridges feature riveted grating, which is used for the strength of anti-slip properties. Riveted grating allows rain and other liquids to pass through, removing the need for complicated drainage systems. Oh, Lord. On Sunday, August 8, 2004, bus driver Stefan Wool was alone in the bus and band violinist Boyd Tinsley on his way to downtown hotel when he emptied the bus septic tank as it crossed the metal grates of the Kinsey Street Bridge. Earlier, passenger boat Chicago's Little Lady left Navy Pier at its 1 p.m. scheduled boat tour departure. While passing under the bridge, the boat received the full contents of the tank on the seats of its open roof terrace. Oh my God! Roughly 2/3 of the 120 passengers aboard the tour boat were soaked. Oh, shart. The boat immediately returned to the Navy Pier where all passengers were issued refunds. 5 passengers went to Northwestern Memorial Hospital for testing, according to the Illinois Attorney General. Passengers aboard included persons with disabilities, elderly, and a pregnant woman, a small child, and an infant. The filing also describes the incident further. The liquid waste was brownish yellow color and had foul, offensive odor. The liquid human waste went into passengers' eyes, mouth, hair, and onto clothing and personal belongings, many of which were soaked. Some of the passengers suffered nausea and vomiting as a result of exposure to human waste in their mouths. Could you imagine talking to your pregnant wife like, I'm sorry, just Joanne. That is gross. My parents sent me to Catholic school to save me from moral vices of public school. They were so blind to all the stuff that was going on in Catholic school. Did they think kids were not smoking pot? Of course they were. Maybe even more than public school kids. Oh yes, there's those Catholic school girls. I mean, I went to Catholic school as well. Suppression and repression never makes people. It's like. And I don't mean to keep beating this horse, but the abortion thing, just because there's no abortion, just because you make abortion illegal doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And it's probably going to happen in the worst possible way. Just because you outlaw drugs doesn't mean that the drugs aren't going to come back in the worst kind of way. If you tell young kids that they should be ashamed of their bodies and they should be ashamed of having sex before they are properly married, you're going to have a bunch of kids who are fucking and sucking. It's just what's going to happen. It was real when it has its own Wikipedia page. Yeah, that's a part of their legacy now. Yeah, of course. Before there was Post Malone, Dave Matthews was in the black culture heavy. John Mayer could even go there because of Dave Matthews. And they do have similar timbres of their voice. Drainage system, yes. Me too. I finally like this Johnny Depp thing can go the way that I think it's gonna go. We need some new investigations on the claims that hold me too responsible. Yeah, well, that's what happened with Boyd Tinsley, and they're sort of going back over it. But he lost his career and shit. Like it's been bad for him ever since. I got a good source that's close to him who was telling me all about it. It's fucked up. Wonder if the infant was soaked too. I hope not. It's like a guy, yeah, for real. And they're all like puking. And Family Guy could be so gross. They had boys and girls separated into different schools. They thought, what? Did that mean no girls would get pregnant? I had at least 3 friends who got pregnant. Such blindness. I agree. The whole clamp down Christianity thing is one of the downsides of Christianity, I think. Immediately following the incident, evidence. Okay, we gotta know what happened afterwards. Immediately following the incident, evidence as to the identity of the bus or bus driver was unclear to the Chicago Police Department, who stated they were investigating the incident but did not yet consider it a crime. On August 9th, the Chicago Architecture Foundation released a statement that a witness had recorded license plate information, which they had turned over to the police as evidence. On August 10th, bus driver Jerry Fitzpatrick, who drove for the band, was identified as the owner of the bus's license plate. In a phone interview, Fitzpatrick denied to the Chicago Tribune reporter that he had dumped the waste, asserting that he was parked in front of the band's hotel at the time. A publicist for Dave Matthews Band issued a statement in response saying the band's management had determined that every one of its buses was parked at the time of the incident. Fitzpatrick, who is in Illinois at the time, included Sergeant Paul Gardner of the Effingham Police Department to inspect the bus's septic tank to prove that he could not have emptied it. Gardner reported to the Chicago Tribune over Fitzpatrick's cell phone that he had inspected the tank and that it was nearly full. State prosecutors worked with nearby fitness gym, the East Bank Club, to determine the offending bus based on the gym security videotapes. On July 24th, Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan launched a $70,000 lawsuit against Wool, alleging that he was responsible for dumping. Wool denied dumping the waste and was supported by the band. On August 25th, Mayor Richard Daley held a press conference in which he released the videotape used as evidence. Daley also expressed his belief that the dumping was absolutely unacceptable, but that he believed the Dave Matthews Band was a very good band. In 2005, Wool pleaded guilty to reckless conduct of discharging containments to cause water pollution. He was sentenced to 18 months of probation as well as 150 hours of community service and paid a fine of $10,000 to Friends of Chicago River, an environmental organization responsible for maintaining the river. The Dave Matthews Band donated an additional $50,000 to Friends of the Chicago River, as well as $50,000 to the Chicago Park District, and paid State Illinois $200,000 as a settlement. The Dave Matthews Band additionally agreed to keep a log of when and where the bus emptied their septic tanks. No passengers suffered any long-lasting physical health from its exposure. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's a YouTube video. You read my mind. Snooze mute. Dave Matthews tour bus septic dump near me. The infamous poop incident. On this, oh yeah, that's what you're just.
14 years ago today, a Dave Matthews Band tour bus dumped hundreds of pounds of human waste on more than 100 passengers floating in a cruise boat along the Chicago River under Kinsey Street. The bus was reportedly used by band violinist Boyd Tinsley. The driver was sentenced to 18 months of probation, 150 hours of community service, and a $10,000 fine. And Dave Matthews Band eventually agreed to pay $200,000 to settle a lawsuit filed by State Attorney General Lisa Madigan. The bridge, incidentally, was the site of another Chicago disaster, the Great Loop Flood of 1992. Construction work breached a tunnel under the river, flooding sub-basements of buildings across downtown.
Downtown.
CBS Chicago.
Well, that wasn't. I want to see the actual poop going in. I guess we don't need to see it. Where's the fucking I just feel like we gotta see it to believe it.
She was putting herself out there. For someone who was pretty up, she did a good job.
What is this? Get out of here. Is this it?
Looked back and I just heard the worst scream.
This is the song that, among other people, Caroline requested. Caroline's been on the front lines here during this crisis.
All right. Well, I'm over it now.
Look
Oh,
back,
God.
and I just
Okay. DMCA for sure. Okay. Moving on. We're Let's get back to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and our stolen intellectual property. So Eminem is the only hip hop artist to be inducted as a performer this year, the only artist that began releasing music in the 90s, and the only act to be inducted in the first year eligibility. This was the third nomination for the Eurythmics, Judas Priest, the second for Pat Benatar, who will be inducted alongside her husband and longtime creator. Okay, we read that. This will be the This will be only the third time the ceremony was held in Los Angeles following the 1993 event at Century Plaza Hotel and in 2013 one at the Microsoft Theater, which was then called the Nokia Theater. Okay, so I wonder why they don't hold it in Cleveland. That's interesting. Why don't they hold this in Cleveland? Why don't they hold Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions in Cleveland? That violence made the black culture so proud of the time for Dave Matthews. I could see that. Oh, Mike Polk on keeping the inductions in Cleveland. Should Cleveland get its promise? I don't know. Let's see. Mike Polk, he has something to say about it. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced its 22 nominees last week, and as usually, there's something for all of our dads to be mad about. The slate represents a wide cross-section of different genres, styles, and time periods. We've got a little bit of country, a decent dose of hip-hop, and a dash of new wave, some soft pop for moms, and the traditional formative heavy metal band that should have gotten in 20 years ago, Judas Priest. But I'm not in the mood to argue today about who deserves to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. I'm more concerned about where they will be inducted. Now, of course, if you have no familiarity with the history of the hall, you would probably say to yourself, well, obviously have the ceremony in Cleveland, right? You'd think so, wouldn't you? What with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being here and all, but sadly, that is not the case. Since the hall's inception, the ceremony has been rotating locations between New York, Cleveland, and Los Angeles. The majority of the events are held in New York City, which, if you are keeping track, is not where the Rock Hall is. However, in 2016, the hall announced that Cleveland would start alternating with New York to host the induction every year beginning in 2018, removing LA from the equation. That would have been great, but the Rock Hall has since backed off that promise, and it sure as heck looks like the ceremony is headed back to Los Angeles this year. That stinks for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the financial impact of not hosting more frequently. When the induction ceremony was held here in 2018, it raked in roughly $35 million for Northeast Ohio area, and that ain't bad. No, it ain't. But my primary gripe is this is based more on principle. It's about the lack of respect that it shows to the city that calls the Rock Hall home, and of course, this is nothing new to our town. These are still people who feel as though the Rock Hall shouldn't really be here. They don't think we deserve it. It is an epic struggle to get the hall built here, and it took a lot of concessions at the start, including a pretty humiliating allowance that induction ceremony would not be the actual Rock Hall consistently. Because it's Cleveland. Yeah. They can charge more for the trophy if it's in LA. Yeah. Firehorse, enjoy your lurk. Thank you so much for that lurk. Appreciate you. Most of the people making these decisions aren't from here, and neither are the artists who are being inducted. They didn't want to be forced to hold their star-studded red carpet events in a rusty little shanty town unless they all felt like throwing us a bone and slumming it every once in a while. Honestly, that agreement made sense when the hall was founded. We were a long shot to score the honor, and we had to make some compromises. But that was a long time ago, and since then, Cleveland has proven itself to be more than capable steward of this temple of rock history and perfectly worthy of putting on a hell of a party when given the opportunity. At this point, the Rock Hall induction ceremony should be held here in Cleveland every single year. It's really just that simple. This is where the hall is, so this is where the ceremony should be. What if the next year the NFL decided to hold the Hall of Fame game in Chicago rather than Canton? How do you think that would go over around here? What if they decide to hold the Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony somewhere else other than else this year because they decide that Cooperstown just doesn't have enough of the nightlife and dance club scene to entice big names into showing up? Maybe Cleveland should declare the next year we want to host the Met Gala here in our town. What's the New York? What's that, New York? You say that doesn't make any sense because the museum is in your city? I couldn't agree more. Bottom line is time for Cleveland to show some self-respect and insist on the induction ceremony being held here every year, including this one, so that I can catch Rage Against the Machine hypercritically and get inducted into the Rock Hall by the Machine. And look out, Cleveland, because if my boy Lionel Richie gets the nod and gets inducted here, you know how long we're going to be partying. All night long. And then they linked all night long. I liked that. That was very fun. Thank you, Mike Polk Jr. for that. Here, Cedar Point. There it is. All right. So moving on to our next story, and this will probably be our last story of the night because I'm hungry. I have hunger, and I have to pee.